Hello and welcome to Loren Live. I am your host, Christopher Gergen, and joining me tonight is the insubordinate one himself, Mr. Loren Culp. Loren, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Chris. How's things going in your world?
Well, things are going good until it started to snow this morning
What?
in Las Vegas.
No.
So, absolutely. So I move out to the desert, probably one of the driest places on the planet, hoping to escape the wet and the cold, and it just didn't happen this morning. It started to snow. So
I
I just
remember every day that it got below 70, you're like, I think it's going to snow. And you leave Washington and you get snow. How
yeah,
ironic.
it is. It's totally ironic. When
That's awesome.
the first when I first moved to New Orleans, literally the first winter after I moved to New Orleans, maybe a couple months afterwards, it snowed our first winter in New Orleans as well. So I just can't
Wow.
I can't seem to get away from the snow. So
Yeah, you might as well move to the mountains of Washington State and just dig in.
right, exactly. Well, listen, we've got a lot of things going on with the Washington State Legislature. We wanted to do this show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because there are some things that you need to know about the legislature and what they are trying to do. There's three big things that we're going to discuss tonight, and hopefully bring some of these things to your attention. And if you are already following these bills, then you'll get some updates on what's going on with these. Loren, the first bill that I'd like to discuss tonight is 1068, which was the bill that was put into play by the Democrats right after we filed our lawsuit.
Yeah, within a few days.
Within a few days. So,
Right.
ladies and gentlemen, the timeline on this was the Culp for Governor organization filed their lawsuit on December 23rd as a Christmas present to the Secretary of State. We wanted to spread the cheer. And so between literally Christmas Eve and January 4th, the Democrats had managed to put this bill together. And HB 1068, make sure if you look that up on the Washington State Legislature, HB 1068, make sure that you're looking at 2021 and 2022. Sometimes it will default to 2019 and 2020, and you won't get the right bill. So go ahead and make sure that you look up the right year. The title of this bill, ladies and gentlemen, exempting election security information from public records disclosure. So what this says is basically the Culp for Governor's lawsuit made some allegations that there were not only voter fraud, but that Article 6, Section 1 of the Washington State Constitution was not being followed by the Secretary of State's office. And that there were laws and rules in the RCW and in the WACs that precluded or prevented the Secretary of State's office from fulfilling his or her duty as the Secretary of State, saying that there was no way the Secretary of State could possibly run an election that was free of any sort of fraud because of the systems that were underneath that through the DOL. So anybody can walk into the Department of Licensing, get a driver's license. You have to have opposable thumbs and can basically fog a mirror, and you're going to get a license. But that doesn't make you an American citizen. That in particular means that you can't vote specifically. But there's no mechanism for the Secretary of State's office to know who is actually being registered through motor voter. So everybody gets registered. And then once you send in your ballot, once your ballot gets separated from the envelope, ladies and gentlemen, the ballot there's no way to know whose ballot that is. So once everything gets pulled out, or if it was never mailed in, if it was a fraudulent ballot that was just filled out, we would never know it. There's no way to know. So this bill, 1068, got put into play, and I'm going to try to get my cursor over here so I can read some of this off to you. The sponsors of this bill were Dolan, Valdez, Klaba, Gregerson, and Wiley, all Democrats. January 4th, it was pre-filed for introduction. January 11th, it had its first reading. January 14th, there was a public hearing in the House Committee on State Government and Tribal Relations at 1000 hours. Then the 21st, there was action that was taken. The majority, meaning the Democrats, all voted in favor, and they said do pass. The minority, which is the Republicans, all of them on the committee voted to dissent now, or to say no. And then on January 25th, it was referred to rules. So the Republicans, I want to be very clear. There are a couple of Republicans here that stood up for we the people, and I want to give them kudos. This is not, Mr. Culp and myself and the New Patriot PAC and the Culp organization. We don't just want to punch the Republicans in the face. We want to give them credit where credit is due. Representative Walsh and assistant ranking minority member, who is an assistant ranking minority member, and also Representative Graham. Jenny Graham is out in the 6th. I think she's in the 6th legislative district out in the Spokane area. They both dissented. And then there was another representative, Representative Voles, who's a ranking minority member. He also voted to dissent. So that is where this sits right now. It's sitting in review for rules. So that is where that bill sits. So what are your thoughts on this bill, Loren, and how all of this is shaken out?
Well, it's kind of suspect, the timing, right? Right after we filed a lawsuit, then they put this bill forward. But it basically would have tied our hands. It would have shut the door behind us had we continued forward with the lawsuit. And
Yep.
that was the biggest fear of my attorney, is getting into this lawsuit, being tied up in court for years with the attorney general. He likes to do that to people who don't think the same way that he does in his far left liberal mind. Tie us up in court for years and shut the door behind us with this legislation so that we could not get audit information or voter information, election information at all, because they could deem it necessary to keep it from the public. This makes it so you can't do a public records request for that information.
That's right, and it was to be retroactive, so not just future.
Yeah, and an emergency bill as well.
Yes, it declares an emergency.
As soon as the governor signs it, it goes into effect. It goes into law immediately upon his signature, and then, like you said, it's retroactive. So it would include the 2020 election as well as future elections and any past elections. So, yeah, I mean, I thought the Democrats were all about openness and public relations and letting people know what's going on, but apparently not.
No, they're not. And it was one of the things that really struck me, Loren, is that how quickly the Democrats circled the wagons around Secretary Wyman, a Republican. You would think that they would try to throw her under the bus if she was running a shady election program, but they didn't do that. They decided to circle the wagons and protect her and basically conceal the entire election process and the inner workings of what goes on throughout the process. It's really astounding.
Well, you know what they say, birds of a feather, right? And came out and said that she doesn't know whether she wants to be in the Republican Party anyway or not. I addressed that in our last live, and
right, good
riddance. That's
right. And we've said that, we encourage the secretary to switch parties. She's already there. Right. So the next thing, so that's ladies and gentlemen, where we stand on that bill. That's something that 1068, HB 1068, if you're of a mind to make phone calls on any of these things, you absolutely need to make phone calls. If there's any way to procedurally for the Republicans to block this bill, they need to do it. Wilcox who is not known for his courage, Representative Wilcox. He's the minority leader. He's not known for his courage, not known to stand up for the governor. He doesn't have any political smarts. He's not tactical. He's all thumbs when it comes to political things, not strategic. You know, if you're of a mind to make a phone call to Wilcox, Representative Wilcox, and the other members there, if there's any way to procedurally block this, they need to do it, because it will virtually, well, not virtually, it will completely, ladies and gentlemen, cover any sort of election irregularities moving forward. You know, and I'm just wondering where the media is on this. You know,
Right.
I've reached out to the media. They don't want to cover it. So I don't know. What say you on the media on this, Loren?
Well, the liberal left media is usually silent, you know, unless it's something that they can pick up and make a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to something that a conservative person might be doing, you know. People can go to the Washington State Legislative website, and there's a link where you can find the contact information for every legislator in the state.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
They need to be contacted. We have some other bills that we're going to be talking about as well.
Yes. The next one is the gun bills, and you had some information on that. Right.
Yeah. There's actually a couple of them that I'm going to throw up here. There's a whole list of them. They go through this every legislative cycle. The Democrats bring forward gun legislation. They hate guns. They hate attachments. They hate magazines. It doesn't matter. You know, and so Senate Bill 5078, it bans any magazines that hold over 10 rounds, which is, you know, most of your full-size handguns, rifles, they use larger than 10-round magazines. The penalty for once it takes effect for having a magazine over 10 rounds, the penalty is a gross misdemeanor with up to a year in jail.
Wow.
Now this was, wow. This was requested by the Washington State Attorney General. Imagine that. Bob Ferguson's office requested this, and Democrat legislators were happy to oblige. Right now it's in the Law and Justice Committee. They had hearings today, had people testifying via other media, you know, not in person. I don't even think they're letting all legislators in the legislative buildings right now. But, you know, the Democrats always point to mass shootings as a reason to limit people's access to firearms or ammunition. By the way, when they do this, which is every legislative session, right? Whether it's in the state house or it's in the U.S. House, whenever they move towards these kind of things, they are the best salesperson for firearms and ammunition, right? Gun sales go through the roof. Ammunition, you can hardly find it most of the time. But the amount of sales of these things go through the roof. And to me, that's great. Buy up all the ammunition and the firearms that you can, because that is a God-given right to protect ourselves and to have firearms and ammunition. But they point to the problem with large capacity magazines is they don't want them anymore because of mass shootings, right? We have to limit the amount of ammunition that mass shooters get. But the insanity of disarming millions or limiting millions and millions of lawful gun owners in the United States because of a handful of incidences makes absolutely no sense. It's absolutely insane. On the same token, they are all for gun-free zones, right? They want to set up gun-free zones everywhere to make us safe. But where do the mass shootings happen? They happen in gun-free zones. I believe it was our now president who put that into legislation in the 90s, gun-free zones.
Yep.
And that's where most of the mass shootings take place, is in gun-free zones where American citizens, law-abiding people, you and me, cannot defend ourselves against someone who's intent on killing you. That makes absolutely no sense. They set this up, create this victim area, people get killed. Oh my God, yes, they did, because you set it up so the criminals could go in there and not expect to have any resistance. And then turn around and say, well, we need to restrict everyone on their amount of ammunition they can have in their magazine. And if you don't abide by it, you're going to go to jail for up to a year. Now, there were people testifying about hunting. You know, well, I come from a hunting family. My dad, my grandpa, they hunted. You know, they never needed more than 10 rounds. Well, the Second Amendment and the Washington State Constitution was not written because our founding fathers just got back from a hunting trip. Think about that for a second.
That's right.
We need penalties for people who commit crimes. You know, we've seen the lawlessness going on all last year, still going on right now. They're having riots and people breaking glass and looting stores to this day. And the politicians on the left are paying people's bail to let them out of jail. We need to penalize people who commit crimes, and that includes shooting people. We don't need to enable them by giving them a zone where they can be free from anyone fighting back. That's my take on that. We need penalties for criminals, not penalties and restrictions for law-abiding citizens.
Those gun-free zones are otherwise known as a kill box, right? It's an area where you draw a victim in to where it's a trap, essentially, is what it is. It's a kill box to where there's no way to retreat, there's no way to advance, and there's really no way to fight back because you get shot at all sides, and there's no way to survive. And these, I think they know exactly what they're doing when they set up these gun-free zones. I think they know exactly what's going to happen. You know, some of the people in the legislatures throughout the United States, as well as Washington State, are not very bright. However, a lot of them are very smart, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out that if you take an area where there's no way to fight back and no one has any weapons, and you introduce someone that has aggressive and evil intentions, that you're going to have a kill box and you're going to have a slaughterhouse.
The fact of it is, Chris, there is evil in this world. There are bad people in this world.
That's a fact.
It's already against the law to commit murder, right?
That's right.
If a new law kept people from killing other people, we already have it. We already have it. It's against the law to commit murder. You could go to jail for the rest of your life. You could be executed for it. Making another law that does nothing but restrict law-abiding citizens, because the criminal, if a criminal's intent on going into a building, whether it's a school, a college, or a workplace, and shooting a bunch of people, a law restricting millions and millions of people all across the United States isn't going to stop them from their evil intent. Evil does what evil does, right? Criminals don't obey the law to begin with. If they did, we wouldn't have any murders.
Loren, let me ask you a question on this, and you might not know the answer to this, but I'll ask because I know that somebody probably sitting at home is thinking about this. Does this law extend to law enforcement and private security companies, and obviously it exempts the military, or is it just law-abiding citizens that get de-armed or disarmed?
It's only us lowly citizens that get our rights stripped away. The military, the police, they get to keep their high-capacity magazines. Right? It's okay for the politicians to be surrounded by firearms with large capacity magazines and walls, basically, but not for our citizens, not for our country, right? There's also another bill. It's Senate Bill 5038 that doesn't limit. It bans the ability for a private citizen, you and me, to open carry a firearm, any firearm, if we're going to be involved in a protest or demonstration. Right. So the Democrats are all about limiting citizens' rights for our safety, but it doesn't make anybody safer to limit how many bullets you have in your gun, because a
Right.
criminal it isn't going to obey the law anyway. We need more armed citizens. We need more people able to fight back. You know, if a criminal shows up with a 22 pistol, I want a 308 rifle, right? And I want the criminals dead. I want them shot dead. If they're going into a school or a business or college, whatever, and they're going in there to kill people, I want them shot dead. We should have more people, more law-abiding citizens like you and me and everybody listening that have the ability to defend themselves. When that happens, mass shooters are stopped immediately. Remember that video? I think it was a year or so ago, maybe longer than that, where a person walked into a church and was intent on shooting a bunch of people. And one of the pastors or assistant pastors pulled out his firearm and shot that person dead.
Yep.
That's what needs to happen.
Unbelievable. Well, this is something that we definitely going to keep an eye on for you all, ladies and gentlemen. And again, if you are of a mind to make phone calls to your legislators, if there's any way procedurally that the Republicans in the legislature can block this procedurally, then they need to do so. You know, not every one of these bills passes, right? So there are some. This is not just one of those things that it's absolutely going to sail through, but they need to hear from citizens, and the legislators need to know that the citizens have their back if they're going to, you know, step up. Now they should do that courageously anyway. However, some of them need a little bit of help on that. So let's move on, Loren. This next bill you and I discussed this afternoon. It's a little bit troubling. When you look at how socialism has started to propagate across the country. You know, Washington State, we've had you know, tidbits of socialism all, you know, for years and years. This one in particular is very interesting. It has to do, ladies and gentlemen, with healthcare. It's HB 1152. That's HB 1152, or Senate bill. It has a corresponding bill. Senate bill SB 5173. And this bill in particular, Loren, let me just explain, you know, what this bill does. Basically what it does is right now, each of the counties in Washington State have their own public health organization. So it doesn't matter what county you live in, you can go to a health clinic that is run by whatever county it is that you live in. Well, that's not centralized enough for the Democrats. What the Democrats want to do is completely centralize everything and do away with all of those county clinics. The clinics may remain, but their authority and their funding will now fall underneath the Department of Health. And all of the funding and all of the you know, rules and all of that will come out of Olympia, and they're essentially disenfranchising all of the counties at the county level from taking care of the people within their jurisdictions. So I'm gonna read this a portion of this really quickly, so you guys kind of have a sense of what's going on here. And it's interesting that this bill doesn't solve any problems. Like they typically have a problem. Like Loren, you were just talking about how, you know, people shooting up schools, that's a problem. So this bill is a solution to that problem. Now, it's a bad solution, but it's a solution. This bill, ladies and gentlemen, has no problem it's trying to solve. It's just a restructuring.
Well, it depends on what side of the argument you're on. It does have an intent to solve something.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah.
That's a lack of control of the governor.
Sure, absolutely. So The purpose of the bill, ladies and gentlemen, Section 1 says the pandemic surpassed the capability of federal, state, local, and tribal public health agencies. Inconsistencies in response activities, overloaded workforce with magnitude of duties, and to address inequities. Rural communities are more inconsistent and inadequately providing foundational public health services. Even though there's no facts, exactly zero facts to back up that last statement. What they're saying is that local health jurisdictions basically are not able to handle what goes on within their jurisdiction. But there's absolutely zero evidence to that fact. It's just a statement without evidence. It goes on to say local health jurisdictions are governed by members without public health experience. Okay, so that's Section 1. So Loren, and there's a lot more here, and I don't want to bore you with all of the legalese here, but this is a big deal. This is something that I think they're trying to slide in under the cover of night, and it needs to be discussed.
Yeah, it's always been, with the far left Democrats, it's always been about centralizing power, about getting the power into the hands of the biggest form of government around, right? It's not okay to have the counties and handle it themselves. They want to centralize it in Olympia where there's more control. What the governor saw was he didn't have enough control over these people around in the different counties. And so they want to consolidate that power so the governor has more control over it. But when things move up to the next higher level of government, when they move up, from the county or from the city level to the county, from the county to the state, from the state to the federal government, who loses when things like that happen? We, the people, lose because we have less and less control the higher up the food chain on the government ladder we get. That's what this is all about. I don't want the government dictating to me anything about my health. That's not their job. Their job is to run the state government or the county government or the city government and let me discuss with my doctor how I want to handle my health care. That's the biggest problem.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is not a new thing. The foundations for this bill, ladies and gentlemen, really 2 or 3 years old. And COVID, they're using as an excuse of the poor response out of Governor Inslee and his administration. They're using this saying, well, we weren't able to properly handle this at the local level because they were unprepared. It's not our fault. It's not my fault. It's their fault. So we're going to take the power because, ladies and gentlemen, you can trust King Inslee. You can trust Daddy Warbucks Inslee. He's going to make everything okay. And that's ultimately what this bill is saying.
Remember, before the new president took office, the problem was up, right? The problem was up at the federal government.
Right.
Now apparently it's not. Everything's great. Now the problem is the peasants below him. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, whatever way they want to play it, it's never their fault. Section 3, rulemaking process for implementing foundational health services. Basically what this says, ladies and gentlemen, is that these health districts that they're going to create underneath the Department of Health are going to be about 250,000 people that are going to be served per district. So what they're going to do is they're going to divide up the state into districts that have, well, that doesn't sound like Hunger Games. They're going to divide up the state into districts where each district has 250,000 or so people in each district. And then they're going to set up local offices, which is just more money. And ladies and gentlemen, where are they going to get that money? You're damn right. They're going to tax you for it. They're going to take it from you.
Already starting the tax, right?
Yeah.
30 cents on gas. What was it? Another 10% tax.
Yeah, and plus they're trying to pass a capital gains tax, which the IRS and at the federal level have already ruled a capital gains tax is an income tax, and income tax is forbidden in the state of Washington, but they keep trying to get around it. Now, Section
Won't
4
stop
is
them. I mean, the
yeah.
Constitution is just an old dusty piece of paper, right?
What I mean, what's that? Why do we even have it?
We don't
So
need to worry about the Constitution for elections. Why in the heck do we need to worry about it for an income tax?
exactly right. Basically, the funding on this it defunds ladies and gentlemen, all of the local counties, completely defunds and redirects that money back to Daddy Warbucks Inslee in Olympia and the goons at the health department. This bill is really unbelievable. If you haven't checked this out, you need to go take a look at it and get involved with the conversation on this. It's HB 1152. HB 1152. Again, when you look this up, make sure you're looking up the right year. Don't look up 19 and 20. Look up 21. Make sure that you're in 2021. And the companion bill on this in the Senate is SB Senate Bill 5173. So we've got the Democrats doing three things tonight, Loren. We've got them covering their tracks on fraudulent elections. We've got them trying to take away or disarm citizens, and we've got them trying to centralize and control the health care of Washington citizens.
Yeah, quite the situation we have ourselves, right? So what we need to do is we need to be active. We need to know about these things. If you go to the state legislature website, you can click a link and find your legislator and find all the others as far as that goes. Contact them. Let them know what you think, how you feel. Put some pressure on them. That's what we have to do. We have to be active. We can't be sitting on the sidelines.
If your legislator is a Democrat, rip through them. Rip into them. If your representative is a Republican or a conservative and they support this, do the same thing. Rip through them. But make sure that you communicate yourself and let them know you better not support these things. These are not things that represent the well-being of we the people. And it is not in the interest of the folks out there. It is not. This is in the interest of the state, the nanny state, big government, and they are not doing you any favors at all.
These people work for us, we the people. They are our employees. Let your employee know how you feel about what they're doing. If they are a Republican, it seems like they're not going to support this. Make sure they fight against it, not just sit there on their hands and twiddle their thumbs and let the Democrats do whatever they want and walk all over them. Make sure you expect your public servant, your employee, to be a fighter and to stand up for you and fight back. That's the big thing.
It is the big thing, and for too long, ladies and gentlemen, the Republican Party and conservatives in general have been playing defense. Mr. Culp's campaign and the New Patriot PAC and Mr. Culp's new organization, we're all about offense. And one of the things that, Tim was someone that we ran against in the primary, and then he came and he supported us. The first one, Loren, to support us after the primary. And he was very helpful to us and just did a really great job for us. One thing I really admire about Mr. Iman is that he is always on offense. He is always just playing offense. He's not playing defense. Well, he is legally now because Ferguson's coming after him. But when it comes to the initiatives and so forth, he comes after these Democrats, and that is why they hate him so much. Listen, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. They're never going to like you. So if they're never going to like you and they're never going to like the things that you say, then it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. So you might as well get aggressive and play offense. And that is what we are about here, is playing offense. Taking it to the Democrats and holding the conservatives accountable to play offense and to do the right thing.
In a peaceful way.
In a peaceful way.
Clarify that, yes. We can be aggressive. We can be verbally aggressive but respectful at the same time. Let the
Absolutely.
public servants know that who they work for and that you don't like what they're doing. So, and I just want to put this out there. If people think that Tim Eyman is a force to be reckoned with, wait a few years. I mean, she already is, but his daughter, Riley,
Absolutely.
she is going to be a fighter. And if she chooses to, she's going to turn this state upside down. I guarantee you.
Yes, she will. Absolutely. And we
She
need more
has got a
young
good head on
people.
her shoulders. Absolutely.
We need more young people. By young people, I mean pretty much anybody younger than me. Man, I
There's a
tell you
lot of
what,
people younger than I am. I turn 60 next week.
wow, happy early birthday. So your birthday, what day is your birthday, Loren?
Let me put this out to the world.
Put it out to the world. Why not?
My birthday is in February. Obviously, a lot of great people were born in February. Do I need to remind you of a couple presidents?
President Lincoln.
At least, and President Washington.
President Washington, yes, that's true.
Yeah. Remember, they both used to have birthdays, holidays, but now it's President's Day. But a lot of great people were born in February. But I was born at the beginning on February 3rd.
February 3rd. Okay. Well, I wanted the reason I asked. So the reason I asked you that question is because we are doing our first live shows. You are taking Loren live. It's not going to be Loren Live VMG anymore. It's going to be Loren Live. Loren is doing a show, a self-hosted show where he's going live every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. And then I've got a new show right here on this channel and also on the New Patriot Pack channel called Pushback with Chris Gergen, where we're going to discuss the politics of the day in Washington State. It's going to be a weekly show. So we've got those two shows coming up. My show will air at 6 p.m. and a Loren show will be on at 7. And I just want to make sure that I didn't schedule your first show on your birthday. You know what I mean? So
that would be great, actually. That'd be my birthday present. But no, it's the day before next Tuesday.
Yep, next Tuesday.
So, anybody watching, leave a comment because I'm nothing's out of bounds. I'm going to talk about a lot of things. I'm going to talk about tips that law-abiding citizens can use when dealing with the police. Because I have a little bit of a background in law enforcement, right?
Right.
Questions on anything, any topics you'd like me to cover: fishing, hunting, building, police work, politics. I think it's going to be a well-rounded show that I'm going to do every single week. So any comments, any things you guys would like me to include, put it in the comments for me.
What about refrigerator repair?
Oh my God. Dude, we need to go there.
No, we don't need to go there.
I think we should. Some people were asking about that. I did a live when I was headed over the mountains because our refrigerator went out. We spent about a week, it's colder. So we spent about a week with our groceries that were in the refrigerator in a box. They were either outside or in the garage, depending on how cold it was. And the repairman was going to come, had a date set. And I'm like, well, we're just going to hang out here for a week until he gets here. The day of the repair, he called. Well, his assistant called and said he's sick. He's not going to be able to make it for a couple more weeks. So I called my brother. We loaded the refrigerator up. We went over to Sears. It's an hour away over the highest mountain pass in the state that's open in the wintertime. Dropped it off. And they can't fix it. Way too expensive. So I came home with a new refrigerator. And it's beautiful. It's great. It beats the heck out of a box in the garage.
That's awesome.
So well, I'll be able to keep my birthday cake even longer in the refrigerator.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Well, listen, Loren, thank you very much for taking time out of your evening to join us tonight on this live. Ladies and gentlemen, Loren's going to be going live a couple more times this week to just check in with you guys and chat. So be on the lookout for that. And we will also keep you guys all up to date on any new developments on these 3 bills that we discussed tonight and anything new going on. And we're gonna put out event posts there. So be sure to set your alarm to watch us next Tuesday. We've got Pushback with Chris Gergen at 6 p.m. and Loren Live at 7 p.m. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Have a good
Good
night.
night.
Bye-bye.